In 7 weeks' time, Katie Derham will be playing her long-abandoned violin to an audience at London's King's Place. She's at her old school in Cheshire, revisiting where her journey with the violin began.
So here we are. They had lots of orchestras here, lots of things going on. It was really, really musical school. I mean, it still is. The junior schools over there, you can probably see them all playing around, and that's where the first scraping began. Yeah.
Well, I'm one of 4 kids, and we all had piano lessons, and all of us at some point took up a second instrument as well, and for me, that was the fiddle. There was always that feeling in the family that, you know, if you can do something, you know, you do it to the best of your ability, and because for me that was music, it meant that I had a lot of encouragement, i.e. they cracked the whip quite a lot to make sure I practised.
Brilliant, really good.
Are we going to persuade you to play?
Oh, I'll have a go. Yeah, go on, I'll have a go. I'm going to follow you, all right?
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think I knew from the age of 8 that I was never going to be the best. You have smaller ambitions. You sort of think, well, maybe I can be in the first violins, or maybe one day I might be leader of the orchestra. But it was great to be part of a gang, and I found my niche.
That sounded good, didn't it, I thought? This is where it all began. I'm back. This was the hall where we used to do the music competitions, where I used to get so nervous. It doesn't feel as big now. I suppose that's really typical when you come back to your old school, but it really doesn't feel as big. But at the time, it just felt as if, you can imagine, you'd be standing up here with your little half-size fiddle, and there'd be a table with the judge, and then the rest of the hall would be full of parents and your friends. It was just stomach-churningly awful. Oh, actually, it makes me feel a bit sick thinking about it. Very weird. It's very weird.
Really strange going back to school. To suddenly go back as an old girl was just surreal, you know? It was like having the Access All Areas pass backstage, you know? We could have walked into the staff room. My God, we could have done, couldn't we? You know, I would never have been able to go into the staff room before.
Oh, hello, no, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. I was just looking back where I used to have lessons, that's all. Mrs. Fletcher's room was in here. This was the glorious scene of my violin lessons. I walked into this room at the age of 8, and I came every week in term time until I was 18. You know how at school you have phases where there's things that are sort of trendy to do, and for a while it was like the trendy thing would be to come in at lunchtime and try and find an empty practice room, and everybody would try and like play whatever they'd heard, you know, on the radio that morning and try and see if they could play the piano. And so we'd hang out in here quite a lot, which now looking back on it is quite tragic. I've never played one of those electric violin. I'd like to have a go at that.
While she's in the area, Katie's dropping in on her father John and Helen, her stepmother. They've been digging out photos of Katie's childhood that bring back memories both happy and sad.
I was such a deprived child. My disadvantaged infancy being washed in a washing up bowl.
And Mum always had her hair up in those days with a big headband on, didn't she?
Yeah, she looked lovely, didn't she?
Mm.
I think I've had a really blessed and lucky life. And the worst thing by far that's happened to me in my life was my mum getting Alzheimer's very young, which was appalling and tragic and terribly unfair. And she was in her mid-50s when she got it, and she was 61 when she died. And that will be always a massive sadness in my life, that I haven't had a mum for as long as I think I should have had a mum.
That's a quite rare photo of Mum looking happy camping. Yes, it was. It was. I just remember, I think I was about 16 when I got the sort of the message that Mum was saying, no, I'll be in a B&B. No.
You know, it rots your brain. It's just the most unpleasant, cruel disease, and it robs you of people who you love, and they don't know you, and they change, and it's not your mum, and it's miserable thing, you know. And she was young, and she was clever and bright and funny, you know, and she was in her 50s, and that was it. You know, by the time she was about 58, she wasn't mum anymore, you know.
Oh, yeah, I love seeing the pictures.
I know. Aren't they brilliant?
Fuzzy looking so lovely.
Mum died Easter 2003. I was a complete state, and then life goes on, doesn't it? And then I had Eleanor a couple of years later, and that's actually when it hit me, actually, I think much more when I was on, when I first had Eleanor. Because I just sort of, I think it was at that point, you know, bringing a newborn baby home, and you're just thinking, oh, God, I wish Mum had met her, you know? And yes, I think it probably took me that long to sort of kind of process stuff, really, if you ever do get over that sort of thing. It was heartbreaking. I was extremely angry. She died 7 years ago and I still feel quite cross about it now, you know? It just doesn't seem fair that somebody should get that kind of disease or any kind of disease at that age when they still have so much of their life to live, you know? And when I still had so much of my life I wanted to share with her.
You were never very strict, it's true. You're a very nice teacher.
Out of terrible situations, lovely things can come. Dad was absolutely amazing at looking after Mum. But Mum's illness got to a point where she needed more care than he could give her and she had to go into a nursing home. The bizarrest of coincidences happened that in that same nursing home was my old violin teacher's husband, who was also suffering from early onset Alzheimer's. Dad and Mrs. Fletcher, as Iris called her, got chatting in the car park when they bumped into each other at the care home. And they became great friends, and in fact such great friends that they're now married. And it's, I mean, it is a wonderful happy ending for them. But it was also hilarious for me.
Look what the examiner says here for that Chardas. A pity that the opening notes were rather insecure. Not the only thing that was rather insecure.
Kind.
The first couple of times that we went home and we all had dinner, I just revert massively to thinking, well, have I cut my nails? You know, have I done my scales? You know, it was the weirdest thing.
And those lifted ones at this end here, you lift and
okay.
control.
You flinched when I did that. You actually flinched, Helen Fletcher.
But still is one of those bizarre coincidences that I can't quite believe has happened. You know, that I go home and Dad is married to my violin teacher. There's Mrs. Fletcher, who now I call Helen. That's, you know, that's just the way it is now.
Rather than try to let them just relax through it.
It's mid-January and Katie's back in London on her way to her second mentor session with Dara.
I am a bit worried about it, actually. It's been a busy few weeks with Christmas and New Year, and I haven't done as much practice as I should have done. You know, there's no way he will not notice, I'm sure. I've got a huge sort of feeling of anxiety, like this big cloud following me around, that however much practice I do, I'm not going to be up to the standard which I'd want to pay money to listen to, and these people are going to have paid to hear the Fidelio Trio, and they'll get me. Oops.
Well, today I'm hoping to hear that Katie's got through the whole piece, learned the notes, hopefully rhythms, and put it into some kind of shape. This is a big leap up from just learning the violin part to actually playing with professional musicians at our level.
But it's a leap too far for Katie, who's still having problems finding the notes.
Yeah, I think... Let's try one.
It actually physically pains me when I hear myself play so out of tune. It's like, ah!
How do you think I feel?
Fingernails on the blackboard. You're all right.
There's a couple of bars of music that I hope she really practices them, you know, and that means not just repeating something over and over again. It means actually she learns them really slowly and builds it up.
I practiced it slowly so much at home, and it just doesn't seem to be
I think you practice
it
it about this speed. Dum, dum, bum, ba, dum, dum, dum.
Yeah.
That's your slow.
Yeah.
Slowly actually means dum, bum, bum, ba, bum, bum, bum.
That's torture, Darren.
That's not torture, that's slow. You know, eight seconds to sing that. It's not such a long space of time, is it?
My first urge is to try and play the tune nicely, pretend I'm performing and sort of see if I can get from start to finish without stopping and making an enormous cock-up. And of course, it's not what you want to do to sit and play the same little difficult, tricky bit really slowly over and over again, because that's just really boring, and I'm not very good at being bored.
So Katie gets more of a feel for her role in the group. Dara's brought in the trio's pianist, his wife Mary.
Oh yeah, you're going to lead, because you're the leader, yeah.
Oh yeah, bring it. Okay.
It's fine if you listen to it 1,000 times on a CD. It's a totally different feeling when you have somebody doing it sitting right next to you. So that's a really, really good opportunity for her.
Really, really fantastic.
fantastic hearing Mary play and how it all suddenly comes together. And, you know, you just sound so much better when you're playing with other people than when you're sitting on your own in your house sort of thinking, oh, I'm out of tune again, you know? Yeah, it's all a bit wild, isn't it? I think I'm sort of in my excitement of trying to keep up and keep going. I think that my control is not there at all.
It's not. It's better than you think. First bar, brilliant. Second bar, fairly good. Third bar,
Bit ropey.
yeah.
Okay.
She's got definitely a build-up of tension around her neck. You can see when the music gets more difficult, everything gets more tensed in here. Your eyebrows go like this.
Seriously?
You're giving it all away.
Now do it with your mouth open. Literally, yeah? Okay.
I can't do that.
Doesn't matter what it sounds like. Everything's more relaxed, yeah? But thanks, Kitty. A lot of improvements and...
Oh, good. I'm glad you think so. Gosh.
God, definitely. Personal dynamics will change in the next time we meet very much because Robin, our cellist, will be there and he'll, I'm sure, have plenty of his own views of how this piece should go. I hope she's going to be able to make the grade. If not, we lose one piece from our concert in King's Place.
Need to lie on your...
Concerned about Katie's posture and her inability to relax, Dara sent her to Alexander Technique practitioner Matt Jones.
Playing the violin is quite a crazy thing to do for the body because it naturally interferes so much with what the head, the neck and the back are doing.
So when did you come across it then?
I was doing my postgraduate at the Royal College of Music. As a result of too much tension, ended up with RSI and could only play about 5-10 minutes a day. The awareness that I had of how my body was working and changing my technique so that I was more relaxed when I played helped a lot.
When I'm playing, I know that I am getting very sort of tense in the left shoulder particularly.
As soon as we want to play loud or do well or play fast, our brain somehow transfers that instruction into a lot of muscle tension that tends then to make the sound smaller because we're not using the body so well.
Matt's going to teach Katie how to use her body better.
You just feel very relaxed.
That's good.
When Katie gets to King's Place, she needs to be relaxed and stop worrying about the notes she's playing. Matt's wobbleboard tests if Katie can perform whilst concentrating on something completely different.
That sounded really big.
Did it? I was so worried about, I was concentrating just on not falling over.
I would generally take any bits that stress you out and do them a lot, just on a loop of 3 or 4 bars, really slowly, thinking mainly about relaxing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's a good chance that in performance that your mind will think, oh my God, there's a difficult bit coming, panic, get tense, try hard, and then...
Apparently, according to Derham, my eyebrows get higher and higher as I approach those moments, yeah.
I was really taken with the Alexander Technique. It's as if Matt pressed a magic button. I didn't realise how much it would immediately translate into an improvement in the way you played, an improvement in the sound.
Instrument number 1 is your body, and instrument number 2 is the violin.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Very much.
Lovely
Thank you.
It's early February and Katie's arriving home after reading the early evening news. After saying goodnight to her children, it's straight on to practice. But with only a month to go before the performance, Katie's still not following Dara's advice to play slowly or with focus.
I have to confess that sometimes the lure of knowing that something quite good might be on telly, sometimes when I'm doing, especially when I'm doing scales or exercises, I sort of think, oh, I'll just see what's on, I'll just play a bit. And I sit on the coffee table playing while I'm watching telly. I don't really think that's the ideal that Dara would have imagined for me. I've yet to even approach a full run-through from start to finish without some almighty mistake in the middle.
Katie's missing the guiding hand that pushed her to practice as a teenager.
Mum was really a great music lover. She was so chuffed that I liked music and that she would do anything, including being quite strict, to make sure I made the most of that. And so she was really influential, of course, on, making sure I did my practice. A lot of later memories of Mum were tied up with her being ill. It's really lovely, actually, to be reminded of all those times, whether she'd be berating me or cajoling me or just enjoying the fact that I was playing, you know, all those different parts of being a daughter who didn't want to do her scales. Those are really happy times when I was a kid, and yeah, I'd forgotten. I think she'd be absolutely chuffed to bits. She really would be, actually. She would be chuffed that it wasn't just sitting up in the loft, you know, this old fiddle. No, she'd be really chuffed.
With 3 weeks to go before the performance, Katie's arriving for her third and final mentor session with Dara. This time she'll be playing with the trio.
My experience just in the other 2 sessions of playing with Dara and then with Dara and Mary was immediately it lifts you because you're playing with people who they make such a wonderful sound that it inspires you to play better. I must say they are all unbelievably friendly.
Katie has to raise her game to play well enough to be able to just go into kind of forensic detail that we do. Maybe should we just do a run first of all, and then start working on it?
Okay. Okay.
I was surprised there didn't seem to be as much progress as I thought there might be. I was wondering about the type of practice I'd been trying to instill in her, if she had really been actually practicing like that. Katie, there's a couple of little rhythmical things that I noticed in previous ventures, which definitely are still noticeable.
I know, bar
just bar
16 and
well, first of all, bar 12.
I would like to hear, so not an accent in the third note, but the first note.
Again?
The hardest bit is not being able to do what they're asking you to do. Why don't you try it this way? Because I can't play it that way because I'm not good enough.
Okay. Right. Now, rhythm.
I know. I just think I feel terribly exposed there, and I get all
You are. You are.
I know.
What sort of character are you going for at the double bar?
I think it has to have the strength of the beginning, but more of a sense of menace, I think. So that's the way I sort of see this.
And so menace, when we get that...
I'm going to write the word menace in.
A few bars later, what's the difference?
When we get to bar 34?
Yeah.
Then it's more joyful again, I think.
More joyful? G minor joyful?
Well... Suddenly taking off.
I mean, what I want to know is whether you think...
But there's a sense of arriving somewhere more with bar 35 than there was at the double bar.
I want to know which is the more dramatic or more terse or more menacing, because we can't play them both the same. Well, we could, but I wouldn't pay the ticket money.
I've just not thought about it in those terms, so yeah, I mean, I'm...
Let's try once. The tension is really that.
Sorry. I do appreciate that it is not just about notes and getting things accurate. It is about the emotion, the picture you're trying to paint with the music. I know all that rationally. Doing it is something else completely. What I felt a bit stupid today about was that I hadn't really even thought about it.
I mean, Mozart obviously would have played these sonatas with his father, Leopold. That's why they were written for 2 violins. And Mozart, there's a famous letter, Mozart's played his 3rd violin concerto, and he said, "Father, I love my concerto because it makes me sound like a great violinist. I've written it in such a way, basically, that he could show off." And I think there's a sort of element, there's a sort of bravura as well that comes certainly with the sort of character of this, which would be great if we can get in the concert.
It's like stepping onto a very, very fast-moving train. I think Katie felt a little bit swamped. I think she suddenly realised, wow, this is what it's got to be like. I don't want you in the concert looking at your music from about 2 before the end, no matter what's happened. I want absolute eye contact only. Yeah. Great.
Slight car crash at the end there.
I have to call it the day there.
Yes.
I am beginning to get slightly nervous. My stomach's starting to churn.
There's nothing like a bit of fear to motivate you to do some more practice. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing more practice. I've got to. After today, I realise quite how far I've got to go still.
Discouraged and feeling in need of serious help after the final mentor session, Katie's got her classical music contact book out. She's asked Tasmin Little, protege of Yehudi Menuhin and arguably Britain's leading violinist, to give her a masterclass at King's Place, where Katie will be performing in just 10 days' time.
Playing with Tasmin is going to be an extraordinary experience. I do feel as if I'm punching way above my weight, though. I mean, she's so good, and I've admired her for so long. It'll be really interesting to pick her brains.
Hi, how are you?
Very, very well. Thank you so much for taking me on.
Joining forces with a group that work regularly together and have done for a long time, so they know each other very well. So you probably feel a little bit like the new girl at school.
It did hit me a bit the first time I rehearsed with them. I thought,
yes, of course.
Blimey, you know, they're brilliant.
I don't think that you should be too cautious about making some points. Don't neglect the positive elements that you can bring to the musicality and to the performance.
After assessing Katie's playing, Tasmin gets hands-on, correcting weak points in Katie's technique.
It's really good.
Really?
Well done. Yes. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. What you're doing at the moment is... And what I'm suggesting is... And all I need is... I'm not even moving my arm. OK? It's fine. Don't look at me like that. You can do it. Just relax. I've got your bow. You won't drop it.
OK.
OK. Digga, 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 digga. Can you feel that? I told you. Yay. Is everybody playing dum-da-da together?
Yeah.
Put shoulder pads on and say to everybody, guys, I've got a great new bowing. And it looks like this. And they can let them deal with this. You're the one that's going to be heard, OK?
Yeah.
You will not bang the third beat of the bar. You will musically come away from the phrase, which is much nicer as well. And it looks more elegant. Look at this.
Nice. Yeah.
Instead of... And if they give you hell, then tell them I said so. You give yourself a really hard time if it isn't perfect the first time, even if you have made enormous progress.
It's probably true in life as it is here on this stage.
I wouldn't like to make any psychological metaphor out of this. You don't need that added destructive voice going on in your head. Please don't forget that.
I'm really, really excited after having spent an hour or two with Tasmin. Having technical conversations with somebody like Tasmin and seeing how it works was extraordinary. I will do everything she suggested. If it works with Tasmin Little, it's got to be worth a try, right?
It's mid-March and the day before the performance. At home, Katie's putting in her last hours of practice.
In the last month, I've definitely upped my practice. I've felt much more confident that I'm practicing towards an achievable and pleasant goal, you know, rather than thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to get this up to scratch. I'm sure that there'll be a moment tomorrow afternoon when I have a fit of the screaming heebie-jeebies about it all. Probably when I start seeing audience coming in, waving tickets they've paid for, not knowing they've got me.
That's that bit. You just don't want it to be wrong.
But Katie's husband John reveals that tomorrow's performance has taken on a greater significance.
Going up and seeing her school and her dad, all of that put her mum, or the lack of her mum being there, at the centre of the experience. To see somebody initially ask you the same question a few times repeatedly, right the way through to them being effectively a sort of very unwell, very thin person in a hospice bed. The memories of that have come back as a result of playing. Tomorrow, she is doing it for her mum. I think I'll be a bit nervous for her, yeah. But I just know how much it means to her.
How do you feel that you're playing on Mother's Day? You're playing your concert on Mother's Day?
I hadn't worked that one out. I hadn't put two and two together. Of course, it is Mother's Day tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, it's a nice bit of timing, that. My dad's going to be there, and my brothers and my sister are going to be there as well. And you know, I think they'll appreciate the poignancy, if you want to put it like that. But I think they'll enjoy it too. You know, they'll love it, and they'll be thinking of her too.